Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing my attention on the filles du roi and les filles mariées, which are part of the history of Quebec. Today, we're going to be looking at les filles du roi and what it all means. This one is kind of interesting, so let's get started. But before we do, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. If you want to hit that, that'll be great. The next couple of ways are ways that you can help the channel grow. You can go on my website and do the PayPal. You can do Patreon, Coffee, all our external platforms that you can contribute. And we really appreciate any and all support that you can give us. Thank you so much to those of you who have supported me thus far. Really, it warms my heart. Thank you so much. So let's get on with the show. So today we're featuring episode 283, Marie Meunier or Meunier. Now you'll notice that there's a big old X in the Filles du Roi. It's because she is now being, it's kind of like a planet being, decommissioned, if you will. She is no longer considered a Filles du Roi, and we'll get into the whys and the wherefore. However, that being said, certain societies still accept her, notably les Filles du Roi. Our society accepts it because we go by the Peter J. Gagne version of the Filles du Roi. These are things that have come up in the last 20 years. So let's explore Marie's life and how the story has unfolded. So Marie was born in 1636 in Arles-Arrée, on the island of Arrée in France. Her parents were Jean Meunier and Françoise Beaufils. Now, the Ile de Ré is an island off the coast of La Rochelle, which is part of the Nouvelle-Aquitaine, which is part of the Département of Charente-Maritime. It dates from the 7th and 8th centuries. Throughout its history, it's been ruled by both France and England, and it's also been part of the Huguenot conflicts. Today, the population is about 17,000. A bridge was finally built in 1987, connecting it to the mainland. As you can imagine, it's a major tourist attraction, and there are an incredible amount of historical monuments to visit. When I looked at the pictures, it truly was a slice of paradise, and I want to go. Now, her groom was Jacques Eudes, and he was born in 1635, same place, Arles-Arrée. He's actually from a different parish, but essentially they are from the exact same location, Jacques Eudes and Marguerite Garinaud. And now let's have a look at what happens next. In 1657, they were married in France. So she was married to Jacques. What happened next? Now what makes this the proof is that Jacques was in New France as of 1666. He is listed there as an habitant, and Marie would have arrived. It was always very mysterious how she arrived and that sort of thing. However, with the discovery of the marriage is what kind of decommissioned her as a fille du roi. In other words, she came as a married woman meeting up with her husband. That does not fill the fille du roi, kind of contract. And that is why we no longer view her on the permanent list of filles du roi. However, she existed, she was a pioneer, and for sure, we want to include her in our stories. So once they were reunited, they did settle down in Quebec City. And let's review a little bit about Quebec City. It is the capital of the province of Quebec. 500,000 people live directly in Quebec City to this day. Quebec was originally named by the Algonquins, who named it after in their native tongue. Quebec means where the river narrows, and Quebec City lies where the St. Lawrence River narrows. If you can look at some of these pictures on your left, you have here a very old house that was built in 1675, and it's actually home to a very famous restaurant called Aux Anciens Canadiens, to our old Canadians. And you can actually go in and have a meal in this very, very historic house. So you can imagine that they would have seen this house. And so if this is your ancestors, you're staring at something they would have looked at. And then on the bottom is the Champlain, they call it the Petit Champlain, and it is probably the oldest shopping center. The Petit Champlain. It claims to be the oldest commercial district in all of North America. And here's an old map from 1700, and then even a more vintage map from the 50s, I think it is. And then we can see in the 1667 census, Jacques and Marie reunited, and they have Marie, who's 1 month old, and they own 4 about 2.5 acres of land in Quebec, at Quebec City. Eventually settle in Sainte Anne de la Parade, which is found just a little bit south of Quebec City. It's a beautiful area. I've toured it in 2023. And it's located along the mouth of the Sainte Anne River. And it actually is along the Chemin du Roi, the King's Road, which is a historic segment of Quebec. The Route 138 stretches from Montreal to Quebec City. Now, what is Sainte Anne de la Parade known for? Well, first of all, if you look at that beautiful picture on the bottom sort of right, that is the Sainte Anne de la Parade Church, which is an amazing place, and it's kind of modeled after the Notre Dame Basilica in Montreal. And this Sainte Anne de la Parade is a really kind of an interesting place. It started life around 1667 when Jean Talon awarded it to the first seigneur. And by 1668, he recruits a very prominent tenant, Michel Roy, and his wife, Françoise Aubé, fille du roi that we profiled before. And they are really the first true occupants of the land. Now, eventually, this territory would change hands and that sort of thing. It would eventually happen that the seigneuress, Madeleine de Verchères, who was married to Pierre Thomas, and Madeleine de Verchères, who at 14 years of age defended her family and her village from the Iroquois raid. And she became really a local heroine. And in marrying Pierre, she would become the seigneuress of Sainte Anne de la Parade. And this is the seigneurial manor, which I toured, which is an amazing, amazing place. This is the original land grants as well. So you can see that it was very much laid out through the river. And just a passing thing about Sainte Anne de la Parade, did you know that it is actually the capital, the world capital of Tommy cod fishing? I had no idea before I started doing research for this channel of what Tommy cod fishing, but apparently it's some sort of fish. And during the season, from late December to mid-February, thousands of tourists come to Sainte Anne for ice fishing. And there's a small village that's built on the frozen water. It's a big thing. So if you don't like fishing, I would recommend not going to Sainte Anne de la Parade during that period. It might be a little overrun. If you do, then this is your place. They would go on to have 7 children. Marie would marry Jean Lemerle and would have 6 children, 5 of whom survived and 4 who left descendants. We have Renée, who passed away in infancy. We have Suzanne, who married Claude Fourquet and would have 3 children, all of whom survived. She then would marry Jacques Jean Rabillon and would have 3 children, all of whom would survive. Jacques, we have no other information, probably passed before the 1681 census. Jacques, the second Jacques, also passed. Louis would also pass away sometime after the 1681 census. And then we have the second Louis, who passed away probably before the 1681 census was taken. And speaking of the 1681 census, we have Jacques and Marie, who are listed, and their children, Marie and Suzanne. Now remember that Marie is listed as being 34, a little bit different, probably 14 is the actual age. And then we have Louis, who is listed as 3 years of age. Family would move once again, this time to Saint-François-du-Lac after 1681, because at that point they were at Sainte-Anne-de-la-Parade. Now, it was founded as a French Jesuit mission during those early colonial days, but would eventually become a proper seigneurie. One of the very first seigneurs of Saint-François-du-Lac was Jacques Crevier de Saint-François, who actually purchased a seigneurie from his brother-in-law, Pierre Boucher, the governor of Trois-Rivières, in 1673. The population today is about 2,000, and Saint-François-du-Lac is actually at the confluence of the St. Lawrence and St. François rivers, and at the edge of Lac Saint-Pierre, and hence the name Saint-François of the lake, Saint-François-du-Lac. And so it is a very beautiful place, and I would urge you to check it out if you ever get a chance, because it really is a very special little hamlet, if you will, of Quebec. Jacques would pass away on February 24th, 1688. On the document, it states that he had been ill. He was just 53 years old. He and Marie would have been married 31 years. And this is the cemetery at Saint-François-du-Lac where he is buried. So Marie would try once more, and once more she chose a man from her exact location of birth. Jean Guillot was born 1640 in Ile-de-Ré. They were married November 21st, 1690, a couple of years after the death of her husband. But he also would succumb to death only a few short months. February 23rd, 1691 is a very, very sad situation for Marie to encounter. She herself would pass away sometime after 1691. We do not have a burial record. This would mean that she was at least 65 years old, and she would leave us by 1729, 39 descendants, of which one of my viewers is an actual official descendant. So there you have it. I hope you enjoy this story. I believe that even though she's not technically a fille du roi, she is a fille du roi in our hearts, because she is one of those early pioneers. She left us with descendants, and her story needs to be told as well. So I wanted to be sure to include her and not kind of disregard her, and absolutely wanted to make sure that we honor her commitment and her dedication to creating a life here in New France. So thank you so much, Marie. We appreciate and we honor your memory. And with that, I also want to say thank you to my patrons and supporters. I am always gratified by the support I receive. Thank you ever so much. And until I see you on the next episode of Les Filles du Roi, au revoir.